stream just went off, and so I've had to restart a new live stream right now so that I can continue to answer the questions that were being asked. So we were talking about deworming goats when they are pregnant. And I said, yes, you can deworm goats when they are pregnant, but the real question is, what kind of dewormer can you use to deworm goats when they are pregnant? And I said that, the levomisol group of dewormers are not the best. They will almost guarantee you abortion when you use those to deworm your goats. And they're a bit too strong. Sometimes, if you overdose, they have the potential to even kill your goat. So I think you definitely want to really avoid those because they can endanger your goats. What I use and I recommend others to use is ivermectin. Is good. The 1% is good. I've used it several times. I tested it at the beginning on local goats. It didn't cause abortion, and then I took the risk to test with my Boer goats, and it has not caused any of them abortion. So ivermec or ivermectin is a safe product that you can use to deworm your goats when they are pregnant. I think what's important is to just make sure that you deworm them. The reason you deworm them is because you've seen that they have got a heavy worm load. Don't just deworm them for fun. It doesn't. It's not helpful. You're weakening your animal for the fun of deworming. So I'll tell you what I usually do when when I want a goat to when I'm preparing my goats to be bred. So I first deworm my goats. I breed in March. So if I have a goat that I want to breed in March, in the first or second week of February, I'll deworm that goat. And I'll deworm her using at least 2 classes of dewormers. So I would use the levomisol type of dewormer, and I would also use the ivermec type of dewormer. I could space them 1 week apart, though I've heard some other trials of even giving them at the same time without any negative effect. But I usually space them about a week apart. I typically would start with the levomisol, and then a week later I do ivermec when they're about 2 weeks away from the time I want to put them with. Now, this I usually do when the doe has not been bred, has not kidded before, because usually after kidding I deworm my goats. So if you deworm your goat after kidding, and maybe you want to bring it back into heat 3 months after kidding, it might still be good. It might be still safe. It does not have a heavy worm load, so you might not need to just deworm it for the sake of deworming it. And one thing that is important is always to check if your goat has a heavy worm load or not. If it is anemic or not. And in this video, I think I can show you that, how you look if a goat is anemic. This here is Lamson. So I'm getting on top of Lamson here. And I want Lamson. Can you be gentle enough that myself I can just hold alone without needing support from some other person? Good. Good boy. So, so they usually don't like their ears being played with. So you look at the eyes of this animal and see the you need to look at the eye of this animal and see how pink the color of the inner walls of the eyes is. Okay, here you can't see clearly because of the lighting here, but you can see the darker it is, the better. It means the animal is not anemic. The lighter it is, means that the animal is anemic. So when your animal is anemic, it's an indication that it's got a heavy worm load and you need to deworm it. But if your animal is not anemic, it's healthy, the body condition does not show that it is weak or anything, then you just don't need to keep on deworming your animal. You are creating another problem of dewormer resistance. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid to do that. So I don't encourage to just keep on deworming the goats at any time. I hope I've answered the question about deworming goats when they're pregnant. Yes, you can deworm them. The critical thing is what kind of dewormer you're going to use to deworm your goats when they are pregnant. And I mentioned and said I've tried different products, and the best outcome I've gotten them from the Ivomec range of products. In terms of deworming your goats when they are pregnant, I saw that it does not have a detrimental impact on the pregnant goat. But again, rule of thumb is don't deworm your animal when they're pregnant. Prepare them well. Deworm them before they become pregnant and after they kid. It's much more safer that way. About the levamisole products I mentioned, they're very strong. They're very good at eradicating intestinal worms. But I must also warn you that you need to make sure you give the right dosage. Overdosing can be lethal. It can kill your animals. Another thing that I've heard, I've not tested it, is that when you give, I think, levamisole, it delays the goats coming into heat. I don't know how true that is. I have not tried I've not experienced it on my end, so I cannot put my word for it. But I've heard. If somebody out there has tested it, do let me know. I would also want to know and if that is the case, so that I avoid giving to my goats a month before I want them to kid. So I heard it delays that process for about a month. 2 or 3 months, the goat may not come into heat. So you don't want to do that if you want your goats to come into heat and give birth. I saw some questions. I just want to see which one. When do those come into? When do the doors come to heat or conceive after delivery time? So I've experienced my goats coming into heat less than a month after giving birth. I have experienced that. And I've seen some delaying, coming back into heat 3, 4, 5 months after they've kidded. Sometimes it also depends with the times. Goats don't conceive or come into heat when it is too hot. When environment is uncomfortable, goats will not come into heat immediately. You need to make sure that the environment is right for those goats to come into heat. But the estrus cycle for goats is 19 to 21 days. What does that mean? It means every 19 to 21 days, an egg is being released. So, that's their cycle. So that means it can come into heat between 19 to 21 days. So if your goat has, so for example, on the 27th of this month, one of my goat called Bahat kidded. On the 28th, another goat, Rafiki, kidded. I will keep you posted on how they come into heat. But Bahati, the last time when she gave birth to this guy over here called Lamson, she was back in heat about 19 days after kidding this guy, and we put her back with her to see what would happen, and she has kidded when this guy is 7 months. So what does that mean? That means she be, she conceived 2 months after kidding this guy called Lamson. So that being said, it tells you that a goat can come into heat 2 months after kidding. But as I mentioned, she came into heat about 19 days after kidding, and from there we kept her with the back. We did realize that on that day when she came into heat for the first time, she was not bred, or the breeding was not successful. So we kept her we continued to keep her with the back, and we saw her coming again into heat on the 27th of September. Yeah, no, 27th of August, 2010. Remember, 2020. He was born on June 20th, and then in July, before the 20th, July 20th, she came into heat. We put the buck with her, but the breeding was not successful. She came again into heat the following month, August 27th, and it was successful, and she has kidded in January 27th with twins. So that. So sorry, it was a bit. The recording was a bit interrupted. So going back again into that. So what I was saying is the mother here was bred 2 months after kidding this guy, and it was successful. That's me over there. So saying that the breeding, I mean the kidding, which it, the mother conceived 2 months after she gave birth to this boy here, was successful, and even she delivered twins, and those twins are very healthy. I'll post a video later on today on that, but they're very healthy. So it just goes to tell you that a goat can come into heat less than 2 months before, I mean, after kidding, and she was just conceived quite okay. Rule of thumb or common knowledge is that in 2 years, a goat is supposed to kid 3 times in 2 years. So do your math. If the 2 years have got 24 months, and a goat carries pregnancy for 5 months up until kidding, 145 to 150 days, then you're talking about 365 days multiplied by 2, and then you've got 150 days for first kidding, 150 days for second kidding, 150 days for third kidding. That is 450 days. So those days in between are the days in which the goat will be resting, building itself up again for the getting into heat and being bred. So essentially, to answer that question on how soon can a goat come into heat, it can come back into after kidding. It can come back into heat after kidding. In within about 19 days, the goat can come back into heat. What's important is the health of the animal and the environment. If the environment is growing, 5 6 months without getting into heat. So the environment is very fundamental. The health of the animal is very, very important. Availability of the buck to secrete, the hormones that need to induce the goats into heat is also very, very important. I hope uh, I hope it makes sense. I hope it's understood. Um, if there are any other questions, I'm willing to take them. Um, I'm willing to take those other questions. Uh, yeah, so the last question was from Ramesh, which was about how soon the gods come into heat. Let's see. Um, um, Maybe other questions. If there are questions, let them in. If you don't have questions, we can end this recording. Oh no, I'm seeing a question here. Did you observe any difference between getting into in Boer and small East African? Uh, kind of. Yes, yes. I did observe differences between the Boer and the small East Africans. The small East African goats, when they get into heat, they're a bit more noisy. You can easily see it. They are quite they are quite they're quite sort of like skittish. They are noisy. They are all over the place. They are troublesome, so to speak. They are like that. So, but the Boers don't show so much. Of course, they back again. Yeah. So with the Boers, what you will know is the changes on the vulva. You find the vulva swollen. You find her some secretion, creamish at the back. She will a little bit. She'll be waggling the tail most often, but they're not as aggressive as small East African goats, where you find the goats going jumping around, trying to mount other goats. They are not as so crazy. Small East African goats get a bit more crazy. Even for the bucks, the smallest African bucks are much more aggressive. They've got a crazy libido than the Boer. The Boer don't have such a crazy libido, to be honest. And so I think if you put one Boer and one small East African buck in a farm with 20, with 100, okay, what I'm trying to say is this. Sorry, really troubling here. So I'm saying if you've got does, let's say 10, and you've got one male buck, two male bucks, Boer and a small East African goat. If the Boer is not too big to butt off the small East African goat all the time, and if there's enough space, 90% of the kids might be born by the small East African buck. Because the small East African buck is agile, is quick, is aggressive, it's got high libido, it's not resting. A Boer will rest, it will breed now and then chillax a bit. Once it has bred the doe, it's not going to repeat. A small East African buck, it will breed the doe and continue breeding the whole 24 hours. Comes back again, goes at it again, comes back again, goes at it again. But I've noticed the bucks they are efficient. These guys, the Boer bucks, are efficient. Once it has bred that doe, it knows that this is proper. I've gotten inside there. I've hit the jackpot, and it will not go back again to breed that doe most of the time. That's what I've observed. But the small East African goat, it doesn't have that. It says, every chance I've got to mount this door, I'll mount this door up until that door gets out of heat. So that's the difference. That's the difference I've picked. Um, any other questions? I'm not seeing any other question. Wow, it's another 21 minutes of live recording. I hope it's really been good. I have 4 people watching, but I think the recording after this can still be watchable for longer after that. Yeah, I believe so. So that's basically it. Turning to myself now. So that's me, and those are the animals behind me. And thank you guys for patronage, for liking our